There is a scene in this movie where an octopus is playing the drums. And that reminds me, this is the second comic book movie in 2018 where there is a scene where an animal is playing the drums. First there was Ant-Man and the Wasp, and there was a scene in that movie where an ant is playing the drums. And now in Aquaman, a scene where an octopus is playing the drums. And I gotta tell you, they play those drums pretty well. Aquaman is the sixth film in the DCEU, directed by James Wan. Stars Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Patrick Wilson, Willem Dafoe, and Nicole Kidman. The plot of this movie is we follow Arthur Curry / Aquaman, played by Jason Momoa, who is half man, half Atlantean, and he returns to Atlantis to challenge his evil half-brother Orm from declaring war on the surface world and from becoming the ocean master. Now, I was optimistic about Aquaman. I thought the trailers looked like fun. However, the DCEU has been hit and miss for me. And I would like to give a recap on my thoughts on the films in the DCEU. And if you want to hear more about my thoughts on the films in the DCEU, I have a playlist on my channel of DCEU movie reviews if you want to check them out. Recap. Man of Steel, good, not great. Batman v Superman, nah. Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, heck yeah. Justice League, it's fine. It's an okay action movie, very flawed, and it's entertaining moments. And now Aquaman. I was interested to see what director James Wan has been directing some horror movies such as Saw, Insidious, and The Conjuring, and he's also directed Furious 7, which I enjoyed. So I was interested to see what he would do with a big budget superhero movie. And I gotta say, this movie is goofy. It is silly. It is cheesy, but fun. It is definitely one of the better films in the DCU. It's much better than Justice League. It's a step up in my opinion. It does have a lot of flaws, which I'll get to later, but first, I want to get to the good stuff. I like Jason Momoa's portrayal of Aquaman in Justice League, and I was excited to see a solo movie from him. Now that I've finally seen a solo movie from him, I think he's perfect for the role, and I like him even more in this movie. I love his energy, humor, the charisma, and he works well in emotional scenes too. I can't imagine anyone else playing this character besides Jason Momoa. I hope we continue to see more of him in this role. Jason Momoa is a great choice for Aquaman. Please do not recast him, DC. Just please don't recast him. Jason Momoa is awesome as Aquaman. The rest of the supporting performances are good too. They're doing a good job. In my opinion, the standout of the supporting cast was surprisingly Amber Heard as Mera. I surprisingly really like this character. I like how she wasn't this damsel in distress who was just along for the ride. She's actually smart, she's strong, and overall just an awesome character, and I really liked her. I gotta say, she's my second favorite female character in the DCU, number one being Wonder Woman. I hope this is not the last time we see this character. I thought she was awesome. Willem Dafoe does a good job as Volko, a longtime mentor to Arthur Curry. Although every scene he was in, I couldn't help but think of Norman Osborn / Green Goblin, but I still thought Willem Dafoe was good in this movie. And Nicole Kidman is good too. She has an awesome action scene in this movie at this lighthouse, fighting these minions. She was good too. And I thought James Wan did a great job directing this movie. And I can definitely tell this is the Aquaman movie he wanted to make. He wanted to make a very cheesy, over-the-top, but fun movie. And I was satisfied with what I got. And I really enjoyed the one-take action scenes he uses in this movie, making the action scenes easy to follow. You can tell what's going on, which I liked. He also does a great job with the world building. Look of Atlantis is fantastic, and the visuals of Atlantis is fantastic. My opinion, some of the best visual effects in the DCEU, up there with Man of Steel. It's great. And also, there is some great cinematography in this movie. Two shots in particular I loved. And the first shot is of Black Manta out of the costume, adrift at sea. And the second shot is this action scene with Aquaman and Mera on a boat, and there are these creatures. And there was one shot that just blew me away. And James Wan also created some very exciting and entertaining action scenes in this movie. And in my opinion, the standout action scene in this movie is this one rooftop chase scene with Aquaman, Mera, and they're fighting Black Manta and these minions. I thought that scene was awesome. It had me glued to the screen. It was very exciting. I love that sequence. That's one of my favorite action scenes in the DCEU. And surprisingly, there was some good heart in this movie, especially with Queen Atlanta, Nicole Kidman's character. And there was some heart with that character that I thought was well done in this movie. Sadly, I do have flaws with this movie. I will get to those right now. First, King Orm. Not that he's a bad villain, nor is Patrick Wilson playing King Orm bad in this movie. He's fine in this movie, but I thought he was a pretty generic and forgettable villain. I didn't really find him all that interesting. Although I will say this, he is definitely one of the better DCEU villains. He is a much better villain than Lex Luthor, Enchantress, Steppenwolf, Snore, and pretty much all the villains in Wonder Woman. I think he's one of the better DCEU villains. And I also want to say this. How they ended his character, I didn't see that coming at all. I thought they were going to go one way, but then something happened that surprised me. That I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect that. Good job. But still, I thought he was a pretty forgettable villain. And another villain in this movie, Black Manta, this guy. Now, I will admit, for the first half of this movie, they set up this villain pretty well. They gave him an interesting motivation for getting revenge on Aquaman, and I was on board with this villain for the first half of this movie. And whenever he shows up in the action scenes in his costume, I thought he was a pretty cool villain. I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. But my problem is, he was so underused in this movie, and I wanted him to be the main villain in this movie. I don't really care about Orm that much, but I kind of wish that Black Manta was the main villain in this movie because I was just interested with him and I thought he was pretty cool. I really wish he was the main villain in this movie. But my biggest problem with Aquaman is the dialogue. There is so much cheesy and corny and just so silly dialogue. And the dialogue and the dramatic scenes that are trying to be dramatic but kind of comes off as laughable just took me out of the movie. There was just so much cheesy dialogue in this movie at times. Although for the most part, the costume design in this movie is pretty good, especially in Atlantis. In the action scene in the lighthouse when Queen Atlantis is fighting these minions, the costume design on the minions just looked laughable to me. I almost laughed out loud in the theater. I couldn't take them that seriously. And one final flaw, the effects in this movie are not perfect. Like two effects. Like one, there are times where the green screen is noticeable here and there, and also there's some de-aging effects on Willem Dafoe's character Volko. Whenever you get to see flashbacks, whenever he's training Arthur Curry at a young age in the past, and it's pretty obvious that they're using de-aging effects on Willem Dafoe's face, and it was a bit distracting. But besides those flaws, I enjoyed Aquaman. It's definitely one of the better DCEU movies. It's entertaining, the cast is good, it's got great visual effects, entertaining action scenes. I enjoyed Aquaman. If DC decides to make a sequel to this movie, I'd be happy. I'd be looking forward to that sequel. Hopefully James Wan will return to direct the sequel. I'm looking forward to it, and especially that there is a mid-credit scene in this movie, and something that might get me a little more excited for the sequel. Overall, I am going to give Aquaman 3 stars out of 5. I have a feeling I might bump it up to 3.5 if I decide to give this film a rewatch. I feel like I might enjoy it more, but now I'm sticking with 3 stars out of 5. I enjoyed this movie. It's definitely one of the better DCEU movies, although I think Man of Steel and Wonder Woman are better movies than this, but I still found this movie entertaining. Right now, it's making a ton of money, and I heard it's almost going to make $1 billion worldwide, and it might be the first DCEU movie to make $1 billion worldwide, and I'm happy for it. I'm happy this movie is doing well, and if you're a DC fan, if you have not seen this movie yet, go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. So what do you guys think of Aquaman? Do you agree? Disagree with me? Let me know below. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.